Guys, today in this video I am going to tell you about the white continent Antarctica. Antarctica is Earth's southernmost continent. It contains the geographic South Pole and is situated in the Antarctic region of the southern hemisphere, almost entirely south of the Antarctic Circle, and is surrounded by the Southern Ocean. At 14,200,000 square kilometers, it is the fifth largest continent and nearly twice the size of Australia. About 98% of the Antarctica is covered by ice that averages 1.9 km in thickness, which extends to all but the northernmost reaches of the Antarctic Peninsula. Etymology. Etymology means the history of the word. The name Antarctica is the Romanized version of the Greek compound word Aristotle wrote in his book Meteorology about an Antarctic region in 350 BC. Marinus of Tyre reportedly used the name in his unpreserved world map from the 2nd century CE. The Roman authors Hyginus and Apelles used for the South Pole the Romanized Greek name Polus Antarcticus, from which derived the Old French Pole Antarctique. Modern Pole Antarctique, attested in 1270, and from the Middle English Pole Antarctic in 1391, technical treatise by Geoffrey Chaucer, modern Antarctic Pole. History of exploration. Antarctica has no indigenous population, and there is no evidence that it was seen by humans until the 19th century. However, in February 1775, during his second voyage, Captain Cook called the existence of such a polar continent probable, and in another copy of a journal he wrote, "I firmly believe it, and it is more than probable that we have seen part of it." However, belief in the existence of Terra Australis, a vast continent in the far south of the globe to balance the northern islands of Europe, Asia, and North Africa, had prevailed since the times of Ptolemy in the 1st century AD. Even in the late 17th century, late 17th century, after explorers had found that the South America and Australia were not of the fabled Antarctica, geographers believed that the continent was much larger than its actual size. European maps continue to show this hypothesized land until Captain James Cook's ships HMS Resolution and Adventure crossed the Antarctic Circle on 17th January 1773, in December 1773, and again January 1774. Cook came within about 120 kilometers of the Antarctica coast before retreating in the face of field ice in January 1773. Explorer James Clark Ross passed through what is now known as the Ross Sea and discovered Rose Island, both of which were named after him, in 1841. He sailed along a huge wall of ice that was later named the Ross Ice Shelf. Mount Erebus and Mount Tabor are named after two ships from his expedition. HMS Erebus, an expedition led by Norwegian polar explorer Roald Amundsen from the ship from Framcam, became the first to reach the geographic South Pole on 14 December 1911, using a route from the Bay of Whales and up the Axel Herbert Glacier. 1 month later, the doomed-squalled expedition reached the pole. Here you can see the pictures of Antarctica and its explorers. Geography. Antarctica is divided by two transitic mountains close to the neck between the Ross Sea and Weddell Sea. The portion of the west of the Weddell Sea and east of the Ross Sea is called West Antarctica, and the remainder East Antarctica, because they roughly correspond to the western and eastern hemisphere relative to the Greenwich meridian. West Antarctica is covered by the West Antarctic ice sheet. The sheet has been of recent concern because of the small possibility of its collapse. If the sheet were to break down, ocean levels would rise by several meters in a relatively geologically short period of time, perhaps a matter of centuries. Several Antarctic ice streams, which count of about 10% the ice sheet, flow to one of the many Antarctic ice shelves. See ice sheet dynamics. East Antarctic lies on the Indian Ocean side of the Transantarctic Mountains and comprises Coast Islands, Queen Maud Land, Enderby Land, Mac Robertson Land, Vikes Land, and the Victoria Land. but all a small portion of this region lies within the eastern hemisphere. East Antarctica is largely covered by the east Vinson Massif, the highest peak in Antarctica, is located in the Ellsworth Mountains. Antarctica contains many other mountains on both the main continent and the surrounding islands. Mount Erebus on Ross Island is the world's southernmost active volcano. Another well-known volcano is found on the Deception Island, which is famous for a giant eruption in 1970. Minor eruptions are frequent and lava flow has been observed in recent years. Other dormant volcanoes may potentially be active. In 2004, a potentially active underwater volcano was found in Antarctica Peninsula, America, and Canadian researchers. Climate. Antarctica is colder than the Arctic for three reasons. First, much of the continent is more than 300 meters above sea level and temperature decreases with the elevation in the troposphere. Second, the Antarctic Ocean covers the North Polar Zone. The ocean's relative warmth is transferred to the ice pack and prevents temperature in the Arctic region from reaching the extremes typical of the land surface of Antarctica. Third, the Earth is at aphelion in July, that is, the Earth is farthest from the Sun in the Antarctic winter, and the Earth is perihelion in January, that is, the Earth is closer to the Sun in the Antarctic summer. The orbital distance contributes to a colder Antarctic winter, but the first two effects have more impact animals. Some species of marine animals exist and rely directly or indirectly on the phytoplankton. Antarctic sea life includes penguins, blue whales, orcas, colossal squids, and fur seals. The emperor penguin is only the penguin that breeds during the winter in Antarctica, while the Adelaide penguin breeds farther south than any other penguin. The southern rockhopper penguin has distinctive feathers around the eyes, giving the appearance of elaborate eyelashes. King penguins, chin-strap penguins, and the Jinto penguins also breed in Antarctica. The Antarctic fur seal was very heavily hunted in the 18th and 19th centuries for its pelt by sailors from the United States and United Kingdom. Antarctic krill, which congregate in large schools, is the keystone species of the ecosystem of the Southern Ocean and is an important food organism for whale seals, leopard seals, fur seals, squids, icefish, penguins, albatrosses, etc. Plants. About 298 million years ago, Permian forests started to cover the continent, and tundra vegetation survived as late as 15 million years ago. But the climate of present-day Antarctica does not extensive vegetation to form. A combination of freezing temperatures, poor soil quality, lack of moisture, and, and lack of sunlight inhibit plant growth. As a result, the diversity of plant life is very low and limited in distribution. The flora of the continent largely consists of bryophytes. There are about 100 species of mosses and 25 species of liveworts, but only the three species of flowering plants, all of which are found in the Antarctic Peninsula: Deschampsia antarctica, Antarctic hair grasses, Globanthus contains Antarctic pearlwort, and the non-native peony annual bluegrass. Growth is restricted to a few weeks in the summer. Ozone depletion. Some scientific studies suggest that ozone depletion may have a domain role in the governing climatic change in Antarctica. Ozone absorbs large amounts of ultraviolet radiations in the stratosphere. This cooling has the effect of intensifying the westerly winds which flow around the continent, and thus prevents outflow of the cold air near the South Pole. As a result, the continental mass of the ancient Antarctica ice sheet is held at lower temperature, and the peripheral areas of Antarctica, especially the Antarctic Peninsula, are subject to higher temperature, which promote the accelerated melting.